Welcome to Advocate Today. I'm Aaron Dean. According to a new report, Black Americans see a big problem with how they are covered in the news, and they're calling for journalists to step up their game. In the new Pew Research survey of 4,700 Black Americans, about 63% said Black people are more negatively portrayed in news. 57% said that news only covers certain segments of Black communities. Half say coverage is often missing important information, and 43% say coverage largely stereotypes Black people. And finally, 39% report seeing racist or racially insensitive news coverage. This feeling spreads across age groups and even political affiliations. Among the solutions to fair news coverage, 64% of those surveyed said that journalists should be educated about issues impacting Black Americans, and more than half said reporters should include more Black people as sources and hire more Black people as newsroom leaders. It's National Hispanic Heritage Month, and a new study states that Hispanic students are facing more discrimination, bullying, and other forms of abuse at school. The new Gallup poll found that Hispanic students are struggling more than any other race or ethnicity to stay enrolled in post-high school education and training programs. They are more likely to feel discriminated against, harassed, disrespected, and unsafe at their schools. The study also shows that this feeling is unique to short-term credential programs and not to those pursuing an associate or bachelor's degree. While Hispanic students were more likely to have these experiences, they're not alone. About 1 in 5 Black students also reported experiencing discrimination. Years after the Me Too movement began, Hollywood is still dealing with concerns about sexual abuse and assault. Writer and actor Ann Masse was one of the first to come out against Harvey Weinstein, and now she's helping other survivors thrive in the entertainment industry. You're active in Hollywood, and there are strikes going on, as we know, and it's impacting workers across the industry. How are you and those around you doing at this moment?
There's so many different ways to support. I'm chronically ill and disabled, so I haven't been out on the picket lines. I did train as a strike captain for SAG-AFTRA and had full intentions of supporting on the ground if I could. But even though I'm massively supportive of this labor action, there is a little bit of an issue with accessibility and safety. So I'm trying to advocate for that as well as advocating for workers' rights. But I'm super active online. I talk about the issues. I try to talk about, for people who are outside of the industry, I try to talk about how this is really a workers' rights issue. Like within SAG-AFTRA, the acting union, there's 160,000 members. We're the largest entertainment union in the world. And in order to qualify for health insurance, you have to make $26,400. I think that's the exact amount. And 87% of our membership does not make enough money to qualify for health insurance. Wow. So it's not just rich, famous celebrities who want more money. I mean, it's amazing that they're supporting the strike. We need their support, but the strike isn't really for them in terms of the pay equity. In terms of AI and protecting that part, it's for everybody, but the pay equity really impacts the jobbers and the workers and the people who are, auditioning 100 times to make one booking and doing, a guest episode here and a supporting role there. And it's very expensive to try to work in this industry, and the pay does not support that, nor does it support living in one of the major markets like Los Angeles or New York City or Atlanta. So it's just about communicating to people about the fact that this is a labor issue, it's a workers' rights issue, it's an equity issue, and it's not something to feel threatened by, and it's not something to feel like, we're being greedy about. We just want fair pay, and we want protection for our images from AI.
And, and these strikes are impacting marginalized voices within the industry. Can you speak to why it is important for communities who have been excluded from Hollywood for years to have platforms and fair, equitable deals from these studios?
Yeah, the way that the structure has changed in the past 15 years, where we have like shorter seasons of television shows and streamers, means that yes, there's more content being made, but there are fewer and fewer jobs within each show. Like they hire fewer writers, the rooms last for less time. And it's so much more important now that we protect the size of our writers' rooms, that we ensure that there's pay equity, because most of the time, as we know, people from historically marginalized communities are often not the people who have generational wealth or who have some sort of a backup plan or a safety net to fall into. So when this industry becomes a gig workers industry, like our employers want to make it, it pushes out those of us who do not already have the financial means to stick through this and stick through this low pay and stick through this inconsistency. So if we do not adjust our pay to match with cost of living increases and inflation and make it an actual sustainable career, we are going to lose so many voices from so many historically marginalized communities, and we will all be poorer for it. Our art has become so much better the more we have authentic storytelling and the more we have authentic representation on the screen. So this doesn't just benefit the people who are employed by this industry, it benefits our audiences.
And now I want to talk about hire survivors. You were one of the first people to come out against Harvey Weinstein after being abused by him, and you are working to make Hollywood a better place for survivors of sexual violence. Tell our audience about hire survivors and kind of the work that is done with that.
Yeah, sure. So that little pin here is my Hire Survivors Hollywood pin. We're an organization that grew out of the fact that when I was first assaulted by Harvey, I had this massive fear of coming forward, even remotely publicly, like even within my community, because I was convinced that it would destroy my career and destroy my life. And so I stayed silent for almost a decade. And when I told my story publicly, it was after the first New York Times piece came out. And I had this belief that I would be safe, that we would be safe because we were together and he was being held accountable. And surely the industry would have changed to the point where we wouldn't be retaliated against for telling the truth about having been abused. But about a month and a half later, I got a call from my agent at the time telling me that that is exactly what was happening. I was being blacklisted. I was destroying my career. I needed to stop talking about it, or that was it. And I watched it happen. I had just moved to LA about a year before this, and I was getting like 6 auditions a month with a tiny little agency in a new market. I was getting big meetings. I was feeling really good. And then everything stopped. I had 6 auditions over the course of 4.5 years after I came forward about Harvey. And when I started talking about this, because I kind of was belligerent about it when I was told to stop talking, I talked more. And I found out through doing that this was happening to so many people. People who've won Oscars, people who nobody knew yet, people who are in the middle of their careers, they were losing agents, being dropped from projects, having all their auditions drying up. And so I started tweeting about it and using hashtags and writing op-eds. And I went to pre-existing organizations and I had developed these solutions that I thought would address this retaliation and stop it from happening and create open doors for people who were being retaliated against and who are, to be quite honest, from a historically marginalized group. I mean, survivors, most of Weinstein's survivors were white women like me, but survivors as a whole are a very intersectional, multiply marginalized group of people. I'm disabled and queer. There's a lot of BIPOC survivors, a lot of trans and gender nonconforming and non-binary survivors. So this work impacts people at many different levels. And so when I wasn't getting the support I needed from existing organizations, I decided to sort of officially launch as an initiative. And that initiative grew from online-based education and sort of like a platform to highlight survivors and their talents. And now we have an industry toolkit. We have a database of survivor talent. We have over 60 individuals and companies who have taken our pledge. We consult on projects, and every single project we've consulted on has interviewed, auditioned, and then ultimately hired survivors that they never would have even known about. So we're this tiny little organization who just within the past week has gotten fiscal sponsorship. So we've had no funding. We've been completely self-directed, and we've had this massively outsized impact on the industry. And so I think the more meetings we can take and the more partners we can grow, and hopefully now with donations, we can continue to have this impact and really help this community of people. And it's not a guarantee of work. It's just opening a door that's been slammed in their face. And it creates, the best thing about it, I think, is it creates safety and equity for everyone involved in the project, because it creates this culture of inclusion and safety. It frees people up to do their jobs and be creative without feeling like they're at risk. And so I think it's a really beautiful thing.
Sarah, we really greatly appreciate you taking the time to share your thoughts and your experiences with us. We say thank you.
Thank you so much. And if folks are more interested in learning about Hire Survivors, hiresurvivors.org/donate, and you can actually give to us now. So thank you so much for having me on. It was so nice to talk to you.
Thanks so much for watching Advocate Today. Download the app in the Apple or Google Play Store to stream us live. And you can even subscribe on our YouTube channel. For the Advocate channel, I'm Aaron Dean.